Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Bullish or Bearish. Now we're going to go over another financial topic that's really been in the news lately and has been very interesting. But there are always more than one side of the story. There's always like at least two different ways to see things. So that's what we're going to really go over today and just kind of let you have like another point of view so that you can actually start making a decision, that would actually fit you.
Yeah, so that was Angela. She didn't introduce herself.
Oh.
Fine. I'm Tony, and we're both from Success Options Group, and we're going through another one of these topics, and it's like something that's trending or something that's hot, right? And that's really what we're trying to do is just get you to that point where you know more about it, right? And so you can make better decisions. And without further ado, that makes our topic is about NFTs this week. So what is an NFT? It's a non-fungible token. Like, what the heck is that? That's the question, right? And it's like, what does this have to do with blockchain? And I guess the way I would start, the most simplest way I would say is NFTs are about ownership and something that's unique, right? So the problem with the dollar, like everything's interchangeable when it's not unique. And the whole idea behind NFTs is how do you make something unique and how do you make it so that it's, you can't just you can't fake it or you can't just swap it for one another.
Okay, so I don't know if you can tell, but like Tony said, I was really excited about this topic. I even forgot to introduce myself. But anyway, this thing has actually been like on my mind because I can't really figure out like what is the whole point behind NFTs, because it's actually just like data, like on the web somewhere. And okay, yes, you have you say something is unique on the web, but there is no control on the web. People can copy and paste things all over the place. Yeah, you might technically own it, but what does that mean? Like, is there any, you have no control. Like, you may own it, but everybody else can use it.
So yes, this is the whole idea behind NFTs, uniqueness. A lot of behind the whole idea behind Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and the blockchain, right? So let's give an example, right? So one of the things, I'm a big supporter of GameStop, right? And we have videos. I have videos about talking about them, but one of their business models, right, is selling used games, right? So the person who the maker of the game only made money when the game was first sold, right? Every single time after them, if it's used, they don't get a cut of it. And this is the same problem that you have with like artists and other kind of like people who create creative artists, people who make unique content, and they don't get a cut of it after the first sale. And the idea behind the NFT and the blockchain is that you have this traceability. You have the provenance, like they talk about in art, where you can keep giving a cut every time because you're able to see who sold what, where was it sold, and this is the whole open source, the whole open ledger concept of blockchain.
Okay, you say that, but just because it gets sold on, do you automatically get royalties? Because I mean, like when people write books, they get royalties for like every book that's sold, right? But that's still just like every copy that gets sold. You know what I mean? It's like if you sell a unique item on, the person who sold it does not get royalties every time like that unique item gets sold on. So how can they actually like make that happen? Not to mention the security for this thing. Remember, it's all on the internet. I mean, there have been cases where NFTs have been hacked and people have lost them just because it was just the security is not very good for it. It's not like a physical item that you can like put in a safe and secure. A hacker can go online and just like mess with it and now you don't have it anymore.
So I think this is where the blockchain comes into play, right? So, let's start off. So there is still a lot of development. It's what's the word for it? It's a breakthrough technology. There's a better word for it. It's something that's disruptive, right? Just like Uber was disruptive, right, to the taxi industry, and like Netflix and the streaming is disruptive to the blockbuster video chain that's no longer exists, right? I think you used a book example, right? So the author gets this, the cut of their book sales on the first transaction. But let's say it starts going through all these used bookstores and it keeps getting sold over and over again. They get nothing. But the thing is, with the blockchain, now you're capturing and tracking this NFT because it is ownership. Like, you have a unique key to it. You have a unique identification token to that thing. Now, like you said, it's not physical, which is the whole thing behind cryptocurrencies. And we had that prior video where we talked a little bit more about cryptos. But what it really gets at is that it's traceability. And when you think about any kind of our investments, you want real estate, you want stock exchange, you're tracking your transactions, right? And that's how you can tell, like, am I doing long-term capital gains? Am I doing short-term capital gains? Who owned this real estate before and how much property tax? That's what I love about the NFTs and the blockchain, is just this traceability. Now, I admit there's some scams out there, and that's where you need to develop your research. And, as we talk about this a lot in the workshops of how do you build that kind of knowledge? How do you build that kind of expertise?
So like you said, it really depends on you doing your due diligence, because this is a very new market. And that's one of the things that I had about it, was that it seems super speculative and it's very on the high risk side. So somebody who's conservative, that wants to be safe, this seems like it has a lot more risk than actual return for me. And so that's why when I look at this, I'm like, okay, well, I don't see, like, it's like winning the lotto. You may get lucky and accidentally buy an NFT that suddenly is worth a lot more later, but it's not a systematic, repeatable thing, and that's why it makes me feel like this kind of thing, the NFTs, it's so new that there's no real data on how to make it a sustainable kind of, repeatable process. So it's just like, how many lotto tickets do you buy and hope you get lucky on one of them? And that's what really bothers me about the whole NFT thing.
Yeah, so I mean, everything we talk about in our consulting and workshops, it's like, it's not 100% of your portfolio, right? So the thing is, with higher risk comes higher reward, right? And that's some of these NFTs, people are like, it went from cents, and now it's like thousands or maybe even millions of dollars. Like you said, it's JPEGs, right? And that's always the joke that people talk to me about. It's like, oh, I'm just going to right click, copy and paste. It's like, well, you don't have that ownership of it when somebody actually looks at the records. And the thing about the blockchain is, you mentioned hackers before, and the thing is, the whole idea behind blockchain is that there's all these contributing parties which all validate the data, right? So it's not just one source. It's multiple different inputs to this, and they all have to agree on the same piece of data, right? And that's why blockchain is disruptive. Now let me go back to what you were saying about NFTs. It's like, it's not 100% of your portfolio. But it's higher return for higher risk, right? And I think the big thing for most people to understand is we are going to have to find trusted partners, right? You don't just, you wouldn't want to just go anybody that's selling you an NFT. And that's one of my big things, and why I'm excited about what GameStop is doing, is that they're getting into this market, right? And they're going to be able to, they're more of a trusted partner than what you have out there with a lot of startups. That being said, this is where the due diligence comes into play, right?
Right. I mean, that's also the other thing, is that you just mentioned blockchain a lot. And do you realize just how much computing power that is needed for doing all of this, keeping all of this data? And crypto's already taking up a whole chunk of energy doing crypto, and keeping that going. Now we add these NFTs. How sustainable is this? Because really right now we don't have renewable energy. So we're just going to be going through how much energy can we really devote to doing something so, not so, solid, something that's kind of, not touchable.
Maybe we'll have a future session where we talk more about that kind of thing. I mean, I think this video is getting a little bit long, but it's like, when we go back to the main thing, the NFTs, like what makes them exciting to me is the idea of traceability, the idea of ownership, uniqueness. And that's where I think this will really take off here in the future. And um, it's early on in the process, right? To me, at least. Some people will say it's not, but this is where the future is going because people want unique experiences. They want unique things. Like the whole idea behind the dollar is like, you know, you can just keep printing more dollars, right? Digitally, right? It's not a real dollar, it's digital dollars. And, you know, you can't tell and you just get less unique dollars. So the ones you're holding in your hand become less valuable. And that's a problem for us investors.
So really, there's a lot to go into. And that's why we have like things like workshops and we have like different, talks that we give to really get into like all the different details and like the things that you really kind of want to know. So that's why, you should really hit the like, hit the subscribe, and maybe sign up for one of our workshops, because then you can really get to know like both of us and really get all the nitty gritty.